Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. I'm your host, Donna Gunter. Today we have with us Zaheen Nanji, Director of the Shanti Wellness Center. The Shanti Wellness Center started as a dream in early 2009 and became a reality that fall with a lot of planning, hard work, and love went into the construction of the center from an empty bay to what it is today. Zaheen, an NLP practitioner, co-founded the center along with her husband in Wetaskiwin, Alberta, their hometown. Shanti, in the Hindu language, stands for peace, calm, and silence, depending upon the context in which it's used. Their philosophy of wellness encompasses the mind, body, and spirit with a balanced flow of energy. Their mission is to provide this balance together with peace and harmony so you can establish a healthier lifestyle proactively. Zaheen is also the author of 2 books, Attract Your Ideal Weight, 8 Secrets of People Who Lose Weight and Keep It Off, and Unlock the Power of You, 12 Keys to Health, Happiness, and Success. And she has a new book coming out later this year called The Resilience Reflex, the 8 Keys to Transforming Barriers into Success in Life and Business. Welcome to the show, Zaheen.
Thank you for having me, Donna.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. Well, when I have an entrepreneur on the show, and in this case I have both an entrepreneur and an author, I'd like to start out with the question of how you got started in your business.
We got started around 2008, 2009 when we had the big crisis happening in the economy and the financial sector. And at that time, I was completing my coaching in NLP, and my husband was completing his studies to become a practitioner. And at the same time, he had his retail store, which wasn't doing really well. So we really had to sit down and contemplate on what our next steps would be. And that's when we decided, hey, why not open up a wellness center since I'm a coach and you are, completing your massage courses. And we had this empty commercial unit next to the retail center, which we owned. And we thought, how can we start this off? So we had this idea that just started off, and it was a dream. And honestly, I never thought it would turn out the way it did, because after we drew up plans and we got building, it took us 9 months to build it the way we wanted. And honestly, I thought that the way I dreamed it actually came true, the way it turned out. And I know the day we opened, I had tears in my eyes. So that's how we started.
Wow, that's a pretty inspiring story. And it sounds like it took some perseverance to get it done. Tell me what about the kinds of services you offer at the Wellness Center.
Right. So we wanted to offer a place where you look after your mind, body, and soul. And so the services we offer incorporate all 3 aspects. So the body would be things like, massage therapy, reflexology, spa kind of services. And then for soul would be yoga, coaching. And for the mind, of course, would be, again, coaching and wellness things. And those kinds of services we offer.
Well, in the introduction, Zaheen, I noted that you were an NLP practitioner, and a lot of our listeners may not know what that is. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what you do in that capacity?
Mm-hmm. So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So if you break that down, neuro is basically the brain, linguistic is language, and of course, programming is how we use our mind and our language to do everyday things. Like for example, the way we behave in certain situations or the habits that we have are all programmed within us. But to make it short, if anyone were to go to an NLP coach, it would be if you were stuck in something and you want to move forward. If you want to excel at something, then this is where you would get help in that. because I find that with NLP, we go deep inside the way we behave and think and really just do some strategies that can change that. And it's a complete change then after. So that's what NLP is, the study of human excellence.
Yeah, I have a good friend in Massachusetts who's a therapist at a college where I used to work, and she still works, and she's an NLP practitioner, and she often uses that in her practice as she works with college students with great results. Her husband tells her often that she, quote unquote, cures people too fast.
That's right.
And she says, well, that's just what I do. I'm not like other therapists that want my clients to hang around for years and years and continue talking about their mother or whatever, like you see on television shows.
Yeah, so true.
Well, in your coaching practice, Zaheen, what types of clients do you work with? What kinds of issues are they coming to you with?
Right. So in the beginning, I found I was just taking anyone in, but then I quickly realized I can't, quote unquote, cure everyone. So I started with the clients who wanted to overcome some kind of fears, whether it's fear of speaking or fear of doing something that they really wanted to do. And then quickly, when we had the wellness center open, I had clients coming in to see me for, weight loss. And I thought, okay, this is becoming an interesting change in events because I had never looked at, weight loss before, even though I struggled with my weight, and that's what one of my books is about. But I never put the two together, and I quickly realized that I overcame my struggles with weight because I used NLP. And so I started to use the same things with my coaching clients, and they have had remarkable results. I've had a client who joined me last fall, and the way she's changed her habits from having to buy a chocolate bar every day, and now she hasn't had one in a long time. Those kinds of things,
Right. Well,
I've had someone.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I've had someone else who took my home study course, and she lost 12 pounds in 6 weeks.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the work you did with clients coming into you around coaching around weight loss, obviously, or it looks like obviously led to your book, Attract Your Ideal Weight. What kinds of what are some of the secrets you talk about people who lose weight and keep it off in that book?
That's a good question because that's a big one that if anyone could solve, right, it would
right.
be worth a lot of money.
Absolutely.
I started to interview and follow a lot of people who had lost weight and learned how to maintain it for more than a year. And I found that the big one was that they planned ahead, which they didn't do before. Where if they know that they're going somewhere, they will make their meals ahead of time, or if they're going to a conference, or even just for the week ahead, they'll make their meals on time. That's it's the first thing that when we go to a dietitian, they will say the same thing: write down what you eat. So that really helps. The second thing was the change in behavior. It didn't happen overnight. And a lot of people, I find, especially nowadays, want the quick fix. And sorry to tell you, but that doesn't work. It takes time and practice. It took me 10 years to accept where I am. And so if it took me 10 years, and it took the other people that I interviewed that long too, it takes time and practice over and over again. And there's more to it, but the main one and the last one that I want to mention is that they didn't look at failure as failure, but they looked at it as feedback. What did they do the last time that made them gain weight, and how can they correct it? And then they would take that learning and then put it forward into their life so they wouldn't go back to that again.
Well, it's funny that you talk about people wanting the quick fix. That seems to be pretty prevalent in our society, that we want something to happen really quickly, but especially in the area of weight loss, if you packed on pounds for 10 years and then you want them gone in a month, that's just not realistic because, hey, it took you 10 years to pack on those pounds.
Exactly.
And it may take you that long to take it off, unfortunately. I don't know that will necessarily, but, it's definitely not a quick fix kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the second book that you wrote about, Unlock the Power of You, 12 Keys of Health, Happiness, and Success. What led you to write that book?
Actually, that one was more of a co-authored book with 11 other authors, and that actually was my first book as an author. So it was more of a co-authored book. And then that kind of got me thinking into, if I can write one chapter in a book, I'm sure I can write a book.
Right.
And that's when I went into Attract Your Ideal Weight.
I see. And you've got another book on the horizon here coming out later this year called The Resilience Reflex. What is the Resilience Reflex? I've been dying to ask you that question.
A lot of people ask me that. What is the Resilience Reflex? It's my 3-step program on how to build on to your resilience muscle, which for a lot of people is an atrophy, kind of depends on the accent that you use there.
Right.
But it helps to build your resilience muscle so that you can embrace change, find solutions, and bounce back easily. I find a lot of people are stuck because they don't know how to move ahead or are afraid of the unknown, and then they go deep down into the why me dungeon, and they get stuck, and they don't know how to bounce back easily. And so that's what I teach in my book, is how to embrace change, find solutions, and bounce back.
So how does someone locate their resilience muscle if they are in that stuck place?
They have to practice the 3-step system that is in my book to be able to build that muscle so that they can become resilient in any area of their life and business.
And would you give us one of those steps, in terms
Sure.
of helping someone get started?
Sure. So the first step is what I call release. And in that step, you want to make sure that you build your emotional resilience. So, for example, when we're stuck in a problem I'll just take an example.
Okay.
With the Wellness Center, we bought an equipment about 3 years ago for laser treatments. And we did our research, we asked our accountant, we looked at the numbers, and it all looked fine. We got the machine, and guess what? It didn't work out. I couldn't even make the payments. Yes, I couldn't even make the payments every month. I had to borrow money from my savings to be able to make the payments. Now, I'm being open and honest here because I'm sure there's so many entrepreneurs out there who do something and they feel, why am I not making the 6 figures like this other coach is making?
Right.
Or why am I, right? Why am I not moving forward? Why am I just, it's one. And we've all been there. And a time will come when you go, okay, this works for me, but this doesn't. But even if something doesn't work for you, how can you make it work? And this is where I found that I really had to sit down and, figure out what strategies can I come up with to be able to make this equipment work and make money for me, because now it's mine. There's no way out. Okay?
Right.
But what happened initially was I was at a stage where I was in tears because my savings were being depleted. And I was going through the same emotions. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my business. Oh my God, I don't have any money. And that's where you want to release, which is my first step, release that emotion by first figuring and just becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself. And that's what happened to me. Was I was just sitting at the table and I thought, oh my God, what am I saying to myself? All these negative tapes that are going on in my head, that I'm losing money, what have I done? And this is still a new business, and I had to stop and I asked myself, okay, what do I want? Simple question. What do I want? All this time I was thinking about what I didn't want. I didn't want to go bankrupt. I didn't want to lose my business. But by just stopping and asking, what do I want? Because I will tell you, the brain works in a very different way. If I asked you right now, I don't want you to think of an elephant. Well, guess what? You just thought of one, even though I asked you not to.
Yeah, it just popped in my head.
Right? And that's all the time we do that. When we say, oh, I don't want this, we're actually attracting that very thing because our brain doesn't know how to negate the don't. Right?
Right.
So, but if I were to say, well, I want cash flow to come in from this equipment, I want to use this service in a way that is affordable to my clients. How can I do that? See, now I'm asking my brain to come up with ideas just by using a simple phrase, what do I want? I know it's very simple.
It is.
And people are like, that's it? And I go, yep, that's it. That's one of the steps in my book, which is release.
That is amazing.
The next two steps are a little longer, and they're called reprogram and resolve.
Well, I wanted to ask you another question about the book, but before we do that, can you tell us the ending of your story about your laser machine?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So I figured out that the way we were offering the service was not affordable to our clients. And I thought, okay, how can I make this more affordable? And I started to model other kinds of, businesses out there that were offering the same kind of service or something similar, and how did they offer it to their clients in a similar town that I'm in. And I did two things. One, I started to offer them in packages. So instead of paying one lump sum, here you go. You can buy this package, and they found that really helped them think clearly as to, okay, I just want to start with this package first. The second thing I did was, which came from my own idea, and thanks to a department store because I was looking through their flyer, I thought, why not offer the package by offering them a 3-payment plan with no interest? And as soon as I did that, boom, my packages, I grew by 50% in 3 months.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's amazing where you can find inspiration when you're not even looking for it.
Yes.
And it all happened by asking yourself that question, what is it that you want? That's amazing. Well, how did you come up with this whole notion of the resilience reflex? How did that as a system evolve in your practice? Yeah.
Well, growing up, I stuttered. I couldn't speak the way I'm speaking to you right now. And I avoided speaking situations. Not only that, but at the age of 15, I moved to Canada from Kenya without my parents. So I had to overcome a lot of obstacles. And in the process, I found ways to speak clearly. Every time I felt that I was going through an obstacle, I found a way to overcome it. And as I was getting coached about my brand, when I was, thinking about, okay, what do I want this book to be about? What do I want my speaking to be about? And I went to a coach and I told her my stories, and she said, Zaheen, the one word that comes to me is resilience. You are resilient, that no matter what, you'll always overcome something. You'll always find a way. And I told her that is so interesting because that is one of my And that's another step in the release method, which is the first step to overcome obstacles, is to also use a phrase. And subconsciously, I realized I always use a phrase to change my emotions. And my phrase is, there is always a way. What is that way? That could be something for someone else, but that's my code. That's my phrase that helps me overcome that. And as I started to think about that, I realized that in my head, I did these same 3 things. I would release the emotion. I would reprogram myself by asking a certain set of questions, and then I would resolve. Then I would look at it, try it out, look at the feedback that I get, and tweak it some more, and go back again. And anything in life and business can be treated with this 3-step system. That's why I called it the Resilience Reflex.
Well, that's a great story, especially talking about overcoming that obstacle you did or around stuttering, and then, a big move at 16. That's pretty amazing that you have traversed those kinds of challenges and ended up where you are today.
Yes, and I don't know if it's through my culture or through the way I've been, taught over the years, or, what I've learned from my own parents. They say it's all got something to do with that.
Well, it also sounds like that your NLP training plays a big role in that, because I heard you saying, several times about, the messages that you use and what your subconscious was thinking, and those are very NLP kinds of thoughts, from what I understand of the industry.
That's true. That is so true. You're right. Yes.
So it's all come together, and you have a great wellness center. You've got 2 wonderful books out, Thriving Coaching Practice, it sounds like, and then a book on the way. Well, it's been great having you here today, Zaheen. How can people find out more about you and your books and what you offer?
Sure. They can go on my website, which is my name, ZaheenNanji.com, and I'm sure that you'll have that when you send the radio out, but if you can just Google Zaheen Nanji, Zaheen, and my last name is Nanji, NANJI.com, and they can go on there, and I have links to all my books and to the Wellness Center, and also if the listeners were to opt in, they can get a 6-week audio series about thriving in the midst of change.
All right. Well, guys, everyone, you've heard it here today about some great ways to overcome obstacles, and as well as maintaining an ideal weight. And if you happen to be near Zaheen's town in Alberta, you can stop in there at her wellness center. So I do thank you, Zaheen, for joining us today, and thank all of you who've been listening for joining us today on another episode of Business Innovators Radio. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.